All right, welcome back to the shop. So we're on to video number 6 here. Today we're going to mount the landing gear, and then we're going to work on the bottom of the fuse a little bit. Um, I kind of decided that I'm going to cut this back a little bit more and piece it in. So right now, early this morning, I got the other half of the bottom half of the fuse mold, and I got about a 10-inch piece that's made here. It's currently drying. Let me put it back on top of the boiler so it'll finish drying quickly. It's one of the nice things about having a boiler down here. You can dry stuff pretty quick. All right. So what I got here is just it's a 1/8 plywood mount with the 3 holes of the original. What I did was I added some 1/16 balsa sides here. Plywood sides to kind of be able to reach down and catch the 64th plywood side. Have a good connection and a lot more surface area. And if you look, there's quarter by quarter balsa that runs along here to really give more surface area. Can the landing gear take a lot of stress? And you really want to make sure that they can handle that. So now just kind of fitting it back in. All right. All right, so I got to sand a little bit out. It's a little bit tight over here. All right, so I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit off here on my grinder. Just touch up the side a little. Just it's a pretty snug fit in here. Looks like I'm going to take a little bit more off. All right, so I'll take a little bit more off. So I got to take a little bit more off the side. Let me do that. So a little bit more would be about right. It's just a really tight fit. I just don't want the sides to bulge out. So what I'm doing is making sure that the sides don't bulge when I put this piece in, so it looks pretty good there. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so it's a pretty tight fit. And again, I just want to make sure the sides are not bulging out. Okay. So just looking down it, you don't want to see the side bulge out now. What I'm going to do is put the landing gear in place with a couple bolts, and then just measure from the trailing edge to the center of the axle. Because what you want it to track straight, if anything, you want it towed in a little bit. If anything, you'd want it a little bit to the inboard side, if anything. But I always set them up straight ahead. Seat maker. Hmm. Oh, one of these days I'm gonna put it somewhere I found it. All right, so now what I'm doing is measuring to the center of the axle. In this case, it's 10 and 5/8 and 10 and 5/8. That seems to be about the right place for it, based on where we had the CG and where this thing has been flown. Pretty happy with that. I want it to sink down a little bit more, but I do want to check the height. So from the center of the axle, actually I'll measure for now. In the center of the axle, it's 5.5 to the center of the wing. Plus, you add 3/4, that's 6.25. So 6.25 plus another inch and a half, 7. So you'll have enough ground clearance. Return 12 inch prop. Even at a 12.5 inch prop, that's 6.5. You easily got that. But right there looks to be pretty good. So just eyeballing it up here just to make sure I can match everything up where I want it. Now what we'll do is we'll use epoxy here to glue this in place. Just gonna rough up the plywood a little bit. The other thing I'll do is the balsa inside a pretty soft balsa, so what I want to do is harden it up. So what I'll do is soak the soft balsa with CA. just as a little insurance. Okay. All right. So we're gonna glue this in place, and as that's drying, what I'll do is I'm gonna work on the bottom. I gotta make a ESC mount. I'll do some of that stuff ahead of time. Epoxy, there it is. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mark it. I'm gonna put the epoxy on the inside here. Okay. Okay. So here we go. I have a mark in there, a glue mark. We'll just take a Q-tip and just evenly disperse the epoxy. You want to remove. You don't want to have a lot of excess. Excess just adds weight. So where you could reduce it, and I'm taking off a good bit of it, but just making sure I got good coating of it. All right, here we go. Now what I'll do is right where the balsa is, I'll take a little CA, just tack in the corner here. Keep it. Now you don't want to get the CA down where the epoxy is. I just did it where I didn't put any epoxy, just to kind of push the balsa sides in. The other thing is I want to work ten and 5/8 and 10 and 5/8. So we're good. With this landing gear, actually, what we did when we built this for Will, we set it so there's actually a set of quarter control, so I can actually move it forward if we wanted to. We kind of set it up to be able to run either way, grass or pavement. The setting itself seems to work fine in both. But if you end up with a more forward seat or something, you have the ability to move the landing gear forward a little bit. All right, so while that's drying, I'm going to take this off. Put these on the table here. So far, so good. I just want to wipe any excess epoxy off my hands and also all right. The landing gear plates are back in. All right, now a couple things I want to do. I want to put the nose ring in, and I want to work on. I'm going to work on this piece as well. So this piece will kind of butt right up against here now. I just got to mark where we're going to put the fuse through, and we can also work on. I can actually put this in if I wanted to, but I gotta things I got to do. So just to give me an idea where it ends, it's going to end somewhere over here. So we'll cut off that excess. Just cut it off, leaving myself a good inch. Gotta get some saw blades. Let's see if I got another one. Oh, nice new one. Save that piece over there. So we're going to work on these two pieces here. So getting this piece in. What I got to do is I got to trim some of these out here to make an ESC mount to be able to fit ESC mounted to it. I also want to mount the nose ring, but to do that I need the motor. So let me go dig the motor up. So I have the motor here. A couple other things I'll do too as well. The battery disconnect, which I'll mount that while the bottom's still open, just because it's easier. I'll do that. So I want the motor in place just to be able to really make sure that this nose ring is aligned the best it can be. Once the nose ring is in, we're gonna put it up against it, the spinner fit. 2.5 millimeter. So yeah, so this thing's moving right along, and I think by the weekend I will be able to give it back to Will to start the finishing process on it. So I got the motor bolted in. I got my ring, which got the middle is only about 1/8 of an inch. So I do have marks on it to help line it up. So I use a broken drop. And hand tighten it on. Now do. I'll make sure that this piece is centered pretty well. Place in one spot. The other thing I'm going to check to ensure 22 and 3/16. Let's see that over. Check it again. 22 and an 8. 22. Okay. So we got about an eighth of an inch. Just double check it there. Yeah, so we got an eighth of an inch is what we want, which is good. Anywhere from a 16th to an eighth to a quarter is fine. Now what you want to do is, now I got to tack in one spot. I just want to make sure that it's fit. Yeah, a little tack in place. What you want to do is make sure you got some sticking out around, all the way around. Which I do, which I can stand there. Once you're happy with it, just glue it in. Well, let's get some glue on the ring here. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna take my plate, just work through. So this, we're gonna finish gluing it in place. Then I'll cut. All we're gonna do, I'm gonna pop this off, and I'm gonna put sandpaper on the back of it, and just fit it up. So it's pretty free there. So now we'll take the back plate off. So we're just gonna finish gluing it in. So to fit up isn't bad. I glue my finger to it. Oh, and we will clean up this. It's a little bit shallow in a couple of places, which is fine. With a little bit of blue fill, take care of it. Pretty happy with this overall. I do want to run a little fixative on it. So I'm pretty happy with that overall. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a piece of 120 paper here. Oh, so I just cut a little circle in here, fold it in here. You just don't have to be a perfect cut. Just got to get around the spinner back plate arbor. So now So now if you look, I made myself a little sanding block out of the flat spinner back plate. What I'm doing is just tune up the spinner fit. And what you can do is drop the wrench. You can just keep doing that until it becomes three. If you really want to get excited, you put a drill on the end of it. This is going to give you almost a perfect spinner fit. It can be machined into the actual fit up. Okay. And now you have a nicely machined spinner fit that fits right up to your spinner back plate. All right, that's what we're doing right now for the spinner back plate, or for the fit up here. So the other thing I did was I even created a spot for wires to go through. I notched out that former, and the wires will go right in the spot. You don't have to bend them around thing. Right. So we got the nose ring done. So now what I'll do is, before I do anything else, set up battery disconnect. I'm gonna put that on the inboard side, and the reason why I do that is centrifugal force always keeps the plug in. I've seen them on the outboard side. Um, they get a little loose. I've seen them come out. So that's why I'll put it over there. All right, so what I'm gonna do is just mark this thing down where I get to catch the plywood. Or put the bolts right there. All right. What I'm doing here is locating holes Okay, so I located the holes. Now what I'll do is mark out the center that's got to get cut out. I'll drill 1/8 holes here. These holes don't match. A little bit bigger is not the end of the earth. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out here. And now, because the side's a little bit flimsy, what I'll do is take a piece of 1/8 plywood in the back, hold it up against it to help me cut through here. So I'm cutting through the 1/64 plywood. So I can take a few cuts to get it through. What's nice about having the plywood back there is I don't cut through my finger. So made the first cut. So we'll cut them up all the way through. Go on the inside here and just finish the cuts. One more cut to make down. Just keep working the blade down. That should be enough to get through. And there you go. Now what you want to do is see how well this fits in. We're gonna have to open it up a little. So that's where I'll use my Dremel tool, kind of clean it up a little bit. At a very slow speed. Let's see, can I get there now? So I take a little bit more off the bottom, or in this case, the top. holes line up nicely. So now what I do, so what I will do is bolt this thing together, and then I'll cut the outline. And I'm only cutting the balsa. I don't want to cut the 64th part. That's what I need for the vacuum. But cutting the 16th allows it to be almost flush. See now. It's right there. So now what I'll do is I'll just trace around, carefully trace around the outside. After I trace around the outside, the next thing I'll do is I'll tighten those screws. Flush the balsa in. And it should give us a nice clean cut. And then I can go in and pull out whatever's excess in there. And now it's nice and almost flush. And when you finish it, it'll be flush. That side gets put in, thicken this up some more. It'll be just about right. Yeah, so that's done. So pretty sure Will wants to put in an Igor system. So we will have to talk to him about it, but we'll have to put a spot for a switch, which isn't a big deal. I'll add some later today. All right, and that's all. Okay. All right, so moving right along here. So now what we're going to do, we're going to set up to mount the ESC. I got a plate here already. Use a plywood plate here, 1/8 light ply. And it's about 7/8 of an inch, about 3 and change long. And what that'll do is that's going to sit down here somewhere in this mount. I'm going to trim them out a little bit, and that's where the ESC will kind of sit. Yeah, actually, I'll make that one up here. Yeah. So what we're gonna do, what you're doing is you're just making a tray here where you can put some zip ties in it and just hold this thing from bouncing around. All right, I'm just looking for a small piece of plywood somewhere. Hmm. All right, so I'm gonna cut a couple little plywood pieces to kind of put this on. And we run the saw. I need one more. More small piece here. Hold on. And what I did was just gonna double up some 1/8 here. All right. Some thick CA. Now, what I did, something like this, I'm gonna grind these edges off just to make them look better, I guess. If you look, they got a little angle on them now. And what I'll do is I'll glue them down to these pieces here. Clean up the edges. Now what you got is a little cradle that'll sit in here. Now what you want to do is just kind of line it up somewhat in the middle. So the ESC will sit right on here. You clamp it through, help with wire management. Let me just mark where these are. All right, so what I'll do is going to put some fixed CA here, bunch there, on that back wall. So just put a bunch of thick CA on it. We'll let it all soak in. And what we'll do is clean up the excess. The thick CA takes longer to kick off, so it will penetrate more. And there's your ESC mount. I'm going to put it in now. It's right in there. The ESC will be right directly into the wind. That's the other thing I gotta do. I gotta make some. That. This as well. Trim back on this a little bit. The wires have to come through here. Yeah. It's a little bit better wire management, that's all. I just do a lot of battery leads to come back through. That's the other thing. We're gonna have to figure out how to exhaust this a little bit. I think what I'm gonna do is cut out a little piece here, probably a little bit over here to get the air to come up and out. Before we can glue that piece on, we gotta make room for an exhaust. So I sealed the whole top is sealed, and I want to just force the air through here. Probably will maybe put a cutout along one of the sides or something. Maybe put a cutout to get the batteries. The batteries will stay pretty cool as it goes through the spinner. Man. All right. Yeah, I do the Dremel tool. Uh, all right, now. Another little neat little thing. I hang my Dremel tool. I have a lead out that's hanging here. It has two ends crimped on it. It kind of helps it. You can see if I can get it in there. Oh, you can't really see it though. But what it does is it just allows it to be able to hang there without falling down. I used to have a screw there, and one time I dropped the Dremel through a plane, so hence that's why I do that. All right, now we're going to try and cut this out. So what I want to know is where the wing kind of is. So we're gonna cut this one back here. And we'll cut it on top as well. Just more. And this is all just to get air to go through. What I'll do is we're gonna cut out the top, and we'll flip it over. And it's really just creating the exhaust path. It's a little bit easier to cut from watching it here. We'll carefully cut down on this. Good. Now I'll get my sanding drum in there. Good. Now you can see there's a air will go right through there and out. So we got a good air exhaust now. And the other thing I'll probably do is I'll probably cut on top of here in this one. We'll see how it turns out, but I may cut some holes in there to get more air through. Okay. All right. So now we are ready to put this on. So that side is really good. This side's gonna get pushed in a little. So I'll just look, you see how it's lined up here. Now what you're doing is just line the fit up. Like one side fits perfect, the other side looks like it's pretty close. Right. It's pretty close. So what I'm gonna do is tack the back. Put a tack in there. Get the tack. And it lines up pretty good. We'll just put a slight tack. That's all good. Now this side we're going to work in a little bit. Pretty good. I'm gonna take my saw here. And I just want to do want to put this slide in here. Put my finger to it. Now I'll do it. See? That's pretty good. Now the rigidity is getting much better. I gotta do a couple more seams in here. This is where I glue my fingers to the plane a lot. All right, that will put in. Good. All right, so now that's on. It adds a bunch more rigidity here. Now we're gonna put a cap plate over here. All right, so what I gotta do is get a block, probably a 1/4 inch block or 3/8 block, and put down the front and sand it in. Let me go find one. All right, so I found a good block, a 3/8 block that I'm gonna use. So all I do is recess it here a little bit. I'll put it in here. I'm gonna drop it in there, and I've just been truing up the sides. I got it close, so now what I'll do is trace the outside of this. So what I'll do is I'll carefully cut it out on my jigsaw if I can get to it. And I want to leave plenty of line. This is actually a 4 pound piece here. What I'll do is have it sit right in there. When I glue it, I just gotta put that piece up. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm just taking off some that I don't need to. This is just roughing it in, so I've left the sand in. It's pretty close. And then what I'll do is after I get it in like that, I'll take a 26 blade and I'll kind of carve a little bit of it. And then lastly, we'll punch the hole for the middle. So I got a piece that broke off here, so let me just see that back. So we gotta do is I gotta just when I glue this up, I want to just push this in a little bit, create a little bit of an arc here. Fit up is pretty good. And what we'll do is we'll tack this in that corner. Tack it in down there. And this again continues to stiffen up all the pieces here. I'm pretty happy with that. Flip it over. Now this, some of this is got to get sanded in, which is fine. This is a nice soft piece. You can kind of push it in to get the connection you want, the seam you want. All right. Now new number 26 blade. All right, so what we'll do is we start taking shavings off. Just keep shaving. Smaller ice shavings, you don't want to chunk it off, but it will. Take the ice shavings here. Now, the block, 220. Okay, that's good. That's flush. You do the same thing on the side. Again, you want to take some more shavings. Um, Take both, and then right. So now we're pretty close. We'll flip it back over. Um, I always like to just leave the hatch in. Okay, that's pretty close now. We'll do it now, but this is cross grain, so you got to be a little bit careful. You got to take. And all I'm trying to do is get it cut close to the bottom here. And having a sharp 26 blade helps. And just taking some more ice shavings there. It's just less you got to sand. But we're just working this edge here, following the contour of the shape. All right, so not bad. I'm going to sand the sides in a little bit here. Okay, now the tricky part. I'm going to sand it down. Okay, it's pretty good. Now, it's not thick, but it's good. Couple spots that are working. Okay. Now what I gotta do is I gotta sand that curve in. What you wanna do is start and roll. Now, I get this curve in. The last little piece will be, well, the filler piece in here to just tie that off. And I may even use, there's so little here that needs to be done. I may use the blue superfill. It doesn't really weigh a lot. Okay. Um, we'll see, but I may do that. And I'm just trying to get some contour around here. And this is a spot where you can sand it in. You can sand too much off. And I'd rather not sand. I'd rather have more to feet to sand to get the shape. But you got to just work it in slowly. How well you can see it. And what I'm trying to do here is create a round. So I take the block and I go one side to the other. All right, now finish this off. And again, everything is going to be round. Okay. A little bit of work to do down in here. Oh man. Again, you just got to keep working, and the bolt is off. So you don't want to sand too much off here. It was a pain to put it back on. I just want to work this one spot in here. All right, so that's now the complete nose is on. Hmm. And then I just got to get the other piece, the back half behind the landing gear plate. All right, so the bottom is in now. The landing gear is in. Um, all that's really left now is the back half here. This is all really cosmetic stuff at this point. Nose ring is in, but I got to put the landing gear back here. I got to figure out what kind of plate to put on here. You know, make it aesthetically be able to remove them. But yeah, so that's next up. A couple things we got to do. We have to cut the hole out for the inlet. Um, Usually, what I'll do is I'll kind of just eyeball it. You know, looking for something about an inch and a half wide. So try to look at the center here. And I kind of use what I'll say that looks about right. And that's about roughly what cut out. I'll just make sure it looks even. Looks like we can come down on this side a little bit. So that's what I got for today. So next up, I'll kind of we'll be cutting this outlet hole here. Then we'll be hopefully the back half of the fuse bottom here will be dry off the mold, and I'll be able to cut this back here and splice it in. Put an air outlet in. I also got to put somewhere for the timer to go, which I'll probably use the old timer plate, but I just got to make it accessible. All right, so thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed.